This is Algebra 2 Homework 1-2 Work Word Problems. Let's jump into this. I am your host, Mr. Sindel, and I have an Apple Pencil that needs to be synced to this iPad since I just restarted it. Usually when I plug it in, it starts up in like 5 seconds. Does it work now? Hey, there it goes. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and say I am the key. Number 1, we have Huang who can mop a warehouse in 9 hours, and Jacob can mop the same warehouse in 8 hours. So what I have right here is Huang is 8 hours and Jacob is, Huang is 9 hours. I should do this correctly. Huang is 9 hours and Jacob is 8 hours. Obviously the answer should be lower than Jacob because Jacob can do it in 8 hours and he's getting a little bit of help, right? So it should go in less time. The general way that we do this is we turn these both into rates. Instead of just saying the amount of time, we say how many warehouses per hour can they do? Well, Huang can do 1 warehouse every 9 hours, and Jacob can do the same warehouse every 8 hours. And now that these are rates, we can add rates. We can say we can add these together. And once we get that, we'll need to divide the number of warehouses that they're, this is some sort of speed. If we divide the number of things divided by the speed, we'll get the amount of time that it took. So they're going to be doing 1 warehouse in that time. And there is our general formula. So I need to figure out how do I do 1/9 plus 1/8. I need to have like denominators, which means I'm going to multiply by 9 and 9, multiply by 8, multiply by 8. And my new equation is going to be 1 on the top, and it's going to be 8 over 72 plus 9 over 72, which is going to be the same thing as 1 all over 8 plus 9 is 17 all over 72. And this is the same thing as doing a keep change flip. So this is the same thing as 1 divided by 17 over 72. And that's going to be a keep it, change it, flip it, and I get my answer. It's going to be 72 over 17 hours. And I don't know how long it is. So 17 over 72, let's pull up our scientific calculator. 17, no, is it 17 over 72? It's 72 over 17, isn't it? 72 divided by 17 is 4.2, and then you round that last decimal. It was a 3, but we'll say it's a 4. So it's going to be 4.24. This is going to be approximately equal to 4.24 hours. And then we'll box that. Let's go ahead and see if we got that one right. 4.24 hours. Very nice. And again, I'm going to try to do this the best that I can. If we get it correct, we highlight it in green, and I'm going to change this color here. We do want white. I don't know if I need a black highlighter. We'll change this highlighter color to here. I'll just change the first one to green. You're asking a colorblind person to choose a green. Is that a green? Is that a green? I don't know. Sure, that's a green. And if it's wrong, it's not red because I can't tell the difference between red and green. It's going to be purple. Is this purple or is it pink? I think that's purple. I don't know. All right, so we got it right. So we will say that is correct. All right, number 2. Amy can paint a fence in 10 hours. So we're going to write some notes to ourselves. Amy is 10 hours and Willie can paint it in 9 hours. So it's going to be the same setup where I'm going to do 1 over a number plus 1 over another number. And the first number is 10, the other number is 9, and then I do all of this math. So I noticed with these problems, they're the same format over and over again. Number 3 and 4 will be the same format. So I'm going to use a bit of a cheat, and I'd like you to do that too. You get the cheat because you're watching the video. Here's my cheat. I know that it's always going to be, let me come down here. It's going to be 1 all over 1 divided by some number. In this case, it's 10. And then I'm going to do, come on. I just need to click plus. No, I just want to, can I zoom in? Or there it goes. And it's going to be plus 1 over 9. And there's my answer. It's 4.734, and I don't have to do any math. I can just use a calculator, right? And then there's a trick beyond this. This is going to be equal to, oh, I can say that. This is going to be, do I have a color here in mind? I want red. This is going to be equal to 4.74 hours with a calculator. And 4.74 hours is correct. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to say, good job, Mr. Sindel. I got it correct. But you can make this even easier because now I have to come back here and edit them. So I'm on the calculator side. If I change this into a letter, I can just call it B, and I can call this other one A. And I can actually create a variable down here for A, and A in this case was 9, and B in this case was 10, and then it can spit out the number just with variables. So ignore the 72 over 17, we don't need that. And now I have a functioning calculator here, and watch how quick this is for number 3, because it's the same formula over and over again. One of the number is 15, so I'm going to type in 15 for one of the numbers, and the other number is 10. Oh, the answer is 6. Done. Oop, that's a highlighter. Haha. The answer is 6. Okay, but what work do you need to show? You need to show the formula. It's going to be 1 over 15 plus 1 over 10, and that should be equal to 6. Should you know how to do this without a calculator? Yes. Will I allow you to have a calculator on the actual test? I have to, right? Because otherwise I'm going to have to let you have a fraction for your answer, which I guess is fine, but the answers on the back of this are not in fractions, they're in decimals, which means you're needing a calculator anyway. Might as well just give you the calculator right now, right? Let's try number 4, using a calculator. Set up the formula. It's going to be 1 over 16 plus 1 over 15. And I just come over here and I enter the second number as 16. And I get my answer as 7.74 hours. I didn't check my work for number 3. I'll do that now. Is the answer 6? It is 6. So I got that one correct. Come down here and highlight that one. And then what about for number 4? 7.74 hours. 7.74 hours. I got that one correct. Okay, number 5 is a little bit harder, and I'm going to do all the math like I did for number 1 to show you where everything comes from. So we don't need the calculator until later. And number 5, we're going backwards because this is the together amount. Together, they can go in 4.8 hours, which means that was the answer. It's like together, they can do it in 6. Together, now they have 4.8 hours. So when we're given the answer, we need to set up our formula like we had before. And I need to conserve some space because this is going to take a bit of work. It's going to be 1 over a number plus 1 over another number is going to be equal to our answer, which we have as 4.8. One of the times we do know, it's 12. I'll put 12 down here. The other number we don't know. We don't know how long it takes for Carlos to go, so we're going to say that's a C. And then I need to solve this. And the way that I do that is I start by putting all of this bottom into the top. I take the reciprocal to move the denominator into the numerator and vice versa. If I do the reciprocal on the right, I do the reciprocal on, if I do the reciprocal on the left, I also have to do the reciprocal on the right. Technically, this is a 4.8 over 1, so the reciprocal of that is going to be, and I'm going to do this underneath, is going to be 1 over 12 plus 1 over C. That was the new top. The bottom is now 1. But I don't write divided by 1 because that's the same thing as 4 divided by 1 is the same thing as 4, right? So I just leave it. And then the right side is now 1 over 4.8. From here, I need to solve for C still. I have this pesky 1/12 that I can simply subtract from both sides. So I can say minus 1/12 minus 1/12. And I have my new function, which I'm going to write up here. I have 1 over C by itself is going to be equal to 1 over 4.8 minus 1 over 12. And finally, I need to solve for C. Right now I've solved for 1 over C. I need to take the reciprocal. If I take the reciprocal on the left, I'll get this number C over 1, which is the same thing as just C. And I'll take the reciprocal of the right. Remember that the right side is technically all over 1. So if I take the reciprocal, it's going to be 1 all over 1 over 4.8 minus 1 over 12. And I can just use a calculator. I have to use a calculator in this case because I can't make that a like fraction unless I multiply by 10 on both of these to get it. It's gross. Just use a calculator. That was the whole point of this assignment anyway, is to use a calculator. I pushed us hard in class, but for the homework and the quiz and the test, you're going to have the calculator. So split screen, come here, calculator. Now I'm going to come back down here and say this is 1 all over 1 divided by 4.8, and that's going to be minus 1 divided by 12. And oh, I got an exact answer. In this case, the answer in pen is equal to 8 hours. So what is C? C is Carlos. Alone, Carlos could do it in 8 hours. And I box my work. Have I been boxing my work in the other ones? I haven't been boxing my work. I should be boxing my works and highlighting in all of these. Let's finish that. They're all boxed. Okay, did I get it correct though? Now I'm gonna figure out if I highlight it in purple or in green. So number 5 is 8. Number 5 is indeed an 8. So come back here and I will highlight, yep, I got it correct. That's the erase. This is the highlight. We got it correct. But you'll notice that no matter what you do, the process is always going to be the same. That being, you're always going to get an answer that looks like this, where you have the together rate minus the individual rate, which means I can set up a formula just like before. I'm going to get rid of this 4.8. I'm going to call this the letter C. I'm going to get rid of this 12, and I'm going to call that letter D. And I can set up my variables so that C is equal to a number, and I can get D is equal to a number. What numbers were they? Well, one number was 4.8. That's the together rate. And D is always the individual rate, and D is going to be 12. And you'll see up above on this this line up here, we get 8 hours. So let's go ahead and use our fancy formula to try to do this next one. So the together rate now is 5.63. So I'm going to come back here and enter 5.63. And the single rate is 9. So come back here and enter 9. And you can see up here in this box, we get 15.04 roughly. So I'm going to come over here and say 15.04. The O in pen. 15.04 hours. How did I get that? And I'll set up my formula again. I did this. I will eventually get, I think it's okay to kind of skip down here because that's what we'll eventually get anyway. I'm going to get 1 over the together rate, 5.63, minus 1 over 9. And that is, again, we're rounding here to 5.04 hours. And I boxed that work. Let's see if I got it right. 15.04 for number 6. 15.04 for number 6. We did get that right, which means I highlighted it in green. All right, and then number 7. Again, you're setting up the equation. I know it's always going to be 1 over the together rate. Together, it was 4.74 for the together rate, minus 1 over the single rate over here. If JD's by herself, she takes 9 hours. So 1 over 9, and we enter this into the calculator. We'll probably get an approximate rate. We'll see. I have to split the screen again. So if I split the screen, I get the new together rate is 4.74. The individual rate is still 9, and I get 10.01. So we come back over here and say that this is about 10.01 hours. I'm going to box that. I'm going to check my work. 10.01 hours. 10.01 hours. We got it. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to highlight that green. And then finally, number 8 is going to be kind of the same thing. We're going to set up our equation. It's going to be 1 over the together rate, which is 6.16 minutes, minus 1 over the individual rate, which is 1 over 11. And I'm going to come over here and enter it in my calculator. The together rate is always first, 6.16. And the individual rate will always be second, and will always be in D in this case, which is 11. And I get, exactly, I can do an equal to sign instead of an approximately equal to sign. This is exactly equal to 14 hours. I'll box that, and let's check our answer. It isn't, I said hours. It's supposed to be minutes because everything was given to us in minutes. So here's what I'll do just to demonstrate that you're supposed to be doing different highlighting colors. I will say I got that part right, but I got that part wrong. It should have been minutes instead of hours. So that was a mistake on my part. That's how you use the purple highlighter. That concludes Algebra 2 Homework 1-2. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.